Big Dash knows what?
Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? That's a good question. I think I know New York Giants football. I think I know. I didn't see what I thought I was going to see last week, but finally, as promised, we moved on. It's now officially Arizona week. And as you can see, doing a little bit of research on the Arizona Cardinals, they did play the Washington Commanders. The Commanders were able to squeak out a victory against the Arizona Cardinals. And I will say this, the Arizona Cardinals are a feisty bunch. They're a feisty bunch. They were playing pretty hard. They actually did a pretty good job against the Commanders. Again, the Commanders were able to survive and ultimately win that game. And it could have been a lot. I guess the Commanders could have had a better game against the Cardinals. They did have a scoop and score for a touchdown. So the score really doesn't tell the story of the game too much. But the defense was pretty solid for the Cardinals. They do play a cover 2 defense. They run that. The coach is from the Philadelphia Eagles. They run that cover 2. And when you think about the cover 2, you think about what's the best ways of beating the cover 2. And normally you would say, multiple deep routes, things like that. Intermediate game as well. After those deep routes, you want to try to take the safeties away, and then take operate in those open spaces that you would hope a guy like Darren Waller and Isaiah Hodgins, those type of receivers can operate. And we saw it in one play versus the Dallas Cowboys when Isaiah Hodgins was able to get that reception, but ultimately he fumbled. You got to kind of work. You got to kind of work that middle. You got to kind of work the middle a little bit. Against that cover 2. But you definitely need to run multiple deep routes. Probably the best way. Again, also in the flats, depending on what the cornerbacks give you. If they're tight on the line, it's one thing. If they're playing a little bit off, it's another. But again, it's just a cover 2. Thinking about the personnel for the Arizona Cardinals, especially on that defensive side, their playmaker is Budda Baker, right? They also have another up and coming star in Zaven Collins, edge rusher, pretty versatile. I believe he even started out as like a safety and then moved into like the middle linebacker spot. Now they got him playing primarily at edge, and he's doing a pretty good job so far. They do have Kazir White also as an interior linebacker, very familiar, coming from Philadelphia. And so they look better than what I thought they were going to look as far as the defense. And again, this is the Washington Commanders, who have a similar issue as the New York Giants as far as struggles within the offensive line. Now, there are ways to attack this Cardinals defense. And I think I would say a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley, but not only Saquon Barkley, Eric Gray and Matt Breida. We have to work a running back rotation against the Cardinals. I think that's something that has to happen, especially if you're not going to get the type of protection that you're looking for. Again, the best way to beat a cover 2, or one of the ways to beat the cover 2, is multiple deep routes. Now, we've shown in the past game against the Dallas Cowboys that we are not able to give the quarterback the time on occasions, for a lot of those longer developing routes, to get open. So again, I think what cures this situation for the New York Giants is a heavy dose of the running game, and then work your passing game off of the run. I don't want to mention Dallas game too much because, again, we are trying to move on, but you can't help but think about, what happened and how the quarterback looked, how the offensive line looked. And you saw glimpses of being able to run the ball, and that was way more successful than we were passing the ball. But again, once you get yourself into a hole like that, running the ball becomes something that you're not going to be able to do, especially if you're going to try to, put some points on the board, or multiple points on the board, and try to make that game respectable. But again, they do have some good players on the defensive side. As far as a unit, not the best unit, not the best unit as far as defense. You should be able to score points. We should be able to score points against the Arizona Cardinals. It shouldn't look as hard as the Dallas game. And again, a lot of people are still shell shocked over that Dallas loss, but I don't think we're going to look as bad as we did against Dallas with a lot of these games coming up. It was just a bunch of things that happened in that game that just went wrong. So on the offensive side, for the Arizona Cardinals, they do have Josh Dobbs as their quarterback. He's only been there, I believe, 2 weeks now, slowly picking up that offense. Here's the thing: I expect, and looking at the Cardinals versus the Commanders game, I expect a heavy dose of the run. They do have James Conner as a running back. I expect them to try to run the ball. That's probably their strength right now, is running the ball. Again, this is Joshua Dobbs coming in short notice, learning an offense. And again, this man is a bona fide or a certified genius. He's actually like a real genius. So I don't think he's going to have an issue picking up the offense. But again, this is still Joshua Dobbs, a journeyman, famous for being a backup quarterback. And the Cardinals got him starting now. And he did a decent job against the Commanders, but again, a lot of that was off of the run game. There were some end rounds, there were some reverses, there were a couple of shots to the tight end because he will use Zach Ertz in his offense, and I think that's where their bread and butter lies, is a little bit of play action, not a lot, running the ball and then getting the ball to the tight end. They do have Marcus Brown, Hollywood Brown as they call him, who is an explosive player. They have Rondell Moore, who's an explosive player as well, but these are smaller wide receivers, shiftier guys. And I do like how our cornerbacks matched up last week, especially on the outside. Adoree Jackson in the slots struggled a bit, and again, that's still CeeDee Lamb, so it is what it is with that. But one thing I will take away from the Dallas game is that these young cornerbacks showed that they can hold up pretty well. And again, this was in the rain, throwing the ball in the rain is one thing, but we had some plays out there that the cornerbacks did make. So I feel good about the cornerbacks. What I don't feel good about is the defensive front. And this needs to be one of those bounce back games for this defensive front. That's including the linebackers as well. We got to get after the quarterback. We got to be able to stop the run. Last week we gave up, I guess it was about 140 yards running. We can't have that this week against the Cardinals. So here's the thing: James Conner is a real running back. He is a bigger guy. He is a thumper. You're gonna have to hit this guy. I will say this though, as far as their rotation, not the best either. So we have to be physical, way more physical than we were or tried to be against the Dallas Cowboys in order to do what we need to do against the Cardinals. Now, here's the thing. I still believe that the New York Giants beat the Arizona Cardinals. What I'm not going to do, and then what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks, is just give us the win. Everything has to be earned. I didn't see anything, like I mentioned in my preview videos and things like that, getting up to the Dallas game, about certain things on how you can beat the cover three. What you can do to try to beat this Dallas defense, and we didn't see a lot of that at all. The quick game, I think the quick game would have worked, but even the quick game couldn't get off. Running the ball, we saw a little bit of success in that, but we didn't see enough of that. And again, the offensive line play, this offensive line, you have to, Evan Neal has to succeed in order for this offensive line to improve. What happened last week can't happen again. Again, we're not going to be facing Dallas every week. That Dallas defense, and I'll see what happens this week against the Jets, but this Dallas defense might mess around and be like one of those defenses people want to talk about. We'll see what happens this week. If they're able to beat up the Jets, and the Jets don't have the best offensive line either. You saw what just happened with Aaron Rodgers out for the season. They don't have the best offensive line either. And Zach Wilson, was able to will his team into a victory, in the Monday night game. But that's going to be a tough game for that offensive line of the Jets with Dallas. But just back to a little bit of this game. So we need some big games from some big names on the New York Giants. And that's going to start with Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones faced a lot of pressure. He was sacked 7 times in that Dallas game. If you can't protect Daniel Jones, I don't expect to see much from that. We have to get back to what we do best, running the ball, but also the quick game has to be a successful option. Slant routes, you got to get Paris Campbell involved. You got to get Darren Waller involved early. One thing about Daniel Jones is once he's established a rhythm, he's better. Getting to that rhythm is one thing, but once you establish a rhythm for Daniel Jones, you know it's like night and day. So we need to make sure we get that rhythm when we do pass the ball for Daniel Jones, get these guys involved. And when you do that, sprinkle in some explosive plays, maybe some deep shots, but I need to see these guys getting the ball first. We didn't see guys getting the ball against the Dallas Cowboys. That has to happen this week against the Arizona Cardinals. Get that ball out fast in the passing game. Short routes, dink and dunk, get that man into a rhythm, and then start to open up that offense a little bit more as the game progresses and as you start to dictate the way you want to play this offensive scheme against the Arizona Cardinals. But that's what I'm thinking about in this game. Maybe you roll the pocket a little bit. I do have my notes. I've been taking notes of what I've been seeing in these games, and I'm just like, you know what I said, roll the pocket if you can, to protect DJ, because again, we saw him, they couldn't establish a pocket in the game against the Dallas Cowboys. If you have some weaknesses on that offensive line, try to move that pocket, create some throwing lanes, get these guys moving around, get this defense spread out a little bit. You said there should be some shots downfield. That's another note that I had. And then I said run the ball with Barkley and Gray. You have to get a rotation going with this running back room. I understand you want to get Barkley started, but you need to keep these guys fresh. If you're gonna run the ball the way that we should be running the ball, or you got to keep these guys fresh. You got to work this three-man running back rotation. If it's Barkley, Breda, and Gray, you got to work that. And then if you can do that outside of what I thought before, I thought we can, run this short game, and then let the run game be a complement to the short passing game. We've seen now with the offensive line that might not be the option. You're gonna have to stick with the running game and then sprinkle in that short passing game, and hopefully the offense can open up, outside of that. So that's what I do, man. I believe something because I'm thinking about it. I'm doing the research. I'm remembering what can beat certain defenses. But when you see something happen, you have to make your adjustments. And it looks like we might not be quite there yet as far as being able to protect and create those pockets. And again, this is a Dallas defense. When we go against the Arizona Cardinals, we need to be able to protect, our quarterback, and we also need to be able to create holes for the running game. And I think with that, the New York Giants could be successful. So that's going to be my preview of the New York Giants versus the Arizona Cardinals. I will be doing another video with the keys to victory, players to watch, things like that. That'll be a little bit later on once we do the weekly update right around Friday. But I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.